interested in me, I now pronounce you Man and Knife.
Hey, what's up everybody? I hope you're all fantastic out there today. As always, thank you so much for stopping by the channel. It's greatly appreciated. I'm Anthony, this is the Silver Screen Analysis, and today we're going to break down my picks for the top 10 Jason Statham movies. Now, in preparation for this video, I've rewatched a ton of Statham flicks over the last few weeks. Some of them I already had in my collection, some I went out and bought on Blu-ray. I also tracked a handful of titles down on Prime and Netflix and Starz and HBO and IMDb TV, so I've gotten to revisit all of his contenders. A few of them didn't hold up as well as I remembered, some of them did, but I was able to come up with my list of his 10 best movies, so let's explore the filmography of the hard-hitting, fast-kicking, and smooth-talking Jason Statham. Now, I would certainly say Jason Statham's path as an action star has been different than most. He started out under the wing of Guy Ritchie, and his British wit was quickly noticeable before he became a leading man, and really even since becoming one. Statham has routinely been a part of ensemble pieces with movies like Spy, Ghosts of Mars, The Italian Job, Snatch, Fast and the Furious franchise, and the Expendables franchise, so he clearly does embrace sharing the screen with others where some of his predecessors were very hesitant in doing so. Now, to me, Jason Statham kind of feels like a hybrid of Jean-Claude Van Damme. I think both of them certainly do have the good looks and the great physiques. JCVD certainly is the pretty one, and Statham is the rugged one, but both of them do show a ton of charisma on screen, but in their own different ways, and both of them have impressive martial arts skills to complement their already impressive physical agility, and I also think that Statham gives all men hope that losing your hair isn't quite a deal breaker as long as you have good looks and a great body.
You also need money.
So today we're going to go all in on Jason Statham. I'm going to dive into Statham's comedic side, his dramatic side, and of course we're going to be talking about his trademark ass-kicking skills. First, let's knock out some honorable mentions and get into this list. Honorable mention number 1 for me would be The Expendables from 2010. There's no doubt this is a great action movie, and Statham is a solid number 2 besides Stallone. He also has a collection of great fight sequences and spots of amusing dialogue, but this one definitely is more of an ensemble flick and not one I often go to when wanting to watch a Jason Statham movie. Honorable mention number 2 for me would be Redemption, also known as Hummingbird from 2013.
You killed Isabel.
Statham here delivers a surprisingly heartfelt performance. He also manages to slip in a couple moments of his trademark violent action as well. I do enjoy this movie for the simple but endearing story that it tells and the effort that Statham brings to the lead, but the pace is a bit slow with the second act that feels a lot longer than it actually is. And my final honorable mention would be Snatch from 2000.
Oh, nothing, Tommy. It's tip-top. It's just I'm not sure about the colour.
I do adore this Guy Ritchie crime comedy. I think Jason Statham is fantastic in the supporting role as Turkish, but again, this is really an ensemble flick as well, and when wanting some movie time with Jason Statham, this one just doesn't always come to mind either. With the honorable mentions out of the way, let's get into my list, and up first at number 10, I picked the British thriller BLITZ from 2011, directed by Elliot Lester, featuring a supporting cast headlined by Paddy Considine and Aidan Gillen.
Finish that carpet, I can do it. Stick it!
I think this is an undermentioned British thriller that can really lure you in when you're in the mood for a serial killer flick. This one provides that for sure, and it also adds a touch of the action movie vibe to it as well. Statham is solid in the lead here as a deadly detective on the trail of a serial killer who's tracking cops, and I really like the international atmosphere that this one delivers. It really does lack that Hollywood studio polish, and it actually gives the film a more convincingly gritty tone that does complement the plotline nicely. The pacing, I will admit, is a little slow in spots, but the game of cat and mouse it lays out is enjoyable to watch. It does lay the groundwork for some violent splashes of action, and Aidan Gillen to me was fun as this devilish villain. I think his charisma bolstered the already eccentric role to appealing, sinister heights. He felt insane but absolutely capable, which I think on screen is a perfect foe for Statham's gruff detective brand. I mean, it does have plenty of killing, which raises the stakes. There are some fun chase sequences as well, a couple of nice fights, and some other forms of action to kind of boost the energy when needed, and I wouldn't necessarily say this movie does anything extremely great. However, I do think it does many things very well, and I think Statham here is able to take a cardboard on paper and really make it his own. Moving on to number 9, I have 2009's Crank, written and directed by Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor, with Amy Smart, Carlos Sanz, and Jose Pablo Cantillo rounding out the cast alongside Jason Statham.
No, wait! Now, come on.
Now, I will admit this is a movie you certainly have to be in the mood for. It's absolutely bonkers, it's beyond unique, and it's over the top with its extreme levels of absurdity, but I think that's kind of what makes this wildly off-the-wall ride work. The concept of this character having to keep his heart rate up to live is amusing, and it's the perfect plot for this hyper-realistic, hyper-violent riot of insanity through the streets of Los Angeles, and I think it really does work because of the charismatic performance from Jason Statham in the lead. Because this movie would not have worked at all without him committing to the insanity of it all, but Jason Statham, to his credit, he goes all in 150%, and he actually seems to relish in it all. He clearly does look like he's having fun in this role, and it only accentuates the already off the charts levels of self-awareness on display here. Statham delivers a little bit of it all in this movie. There's an endless supply of eccentric characters to go along with him. The violence, to me, is as enjoyable as it is amusingly absurd, and it delivers one of the all-time great sex scenes because Statham and his girlfriend having sex out on the sidewalk in front of a bus full of schoolgirls and random people walking on the street is just an unforgettable cinematic moment and an unforgettable action flick. Up next at number 8, I picked the spin-off that made Vin Diesel furious and fast, that being Hobbs and Shaw, with Dwayne Johnson co-starring alongside Statham in this amusingly hyper-realistic actioner directed by David Leitch. Now, this movie is about 45 to maybe even 50 minutes longer than it needed to be, but nonetheless, it's a wild ride that delivers plenty of fun. If you want to see Statham evenly flex both his comedic chops and his fighting skills, this is certainly a solid pick for that. The chemistry between Statham and The Rock is charmingly abrasive, and it delivers waves of appealing humor and bravado and tons of action as well. From chase sequences to nicely choreographed fight scenes to massively ridiculous but admittedly highly enjoyable set pieces, Statham is all over the screen in this one doing what he does best. I think he easily carries the debonair mystique on his shoulders, with his comedic timing and sense of humor landing plenty of cheap laughs as he shows signs of his Guy Ritchie roots. And I mean, yeah, this movie, it does try to do way too much, but it also provides enough absurd action for 2 movies, and sometimes a nicely crafted guilty pleasure action movie is just what the doctor ordered after a long day on the job. Up next, and coming in at number 7, I have the Guy Ritchie directed ensemble crime caper from 1998 called Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels.
Handmade in Italy, hand stolen in Stepney. It's as long as my arm. I wish it was as long as something else.
This was Jason Statham's first film, and it still holds up as one of his better performances. He was young and just naturally charming as the quick-talking bacon. Now, this certainly is an ensemble flick, but Statham is a major part of it, and I think he leaves a massive impression on the film. He thrived under the fast-paced British wit from Guy Ritchie, and his chemistry with the cast, I think, absolutely conveyed all the needed story layers and character dynamics to make this a great cinematic ride. I like this movie when I want a little bit of everything. It delivers some tension, some drama, and plenty of humor, all with the dark, gritty undercurrent to it. This was Guy Ritchie's first movie, like I said, Statham's as well, and for Vinnie Jones. And yeah, it's a very raw movie, but I think it has a very stylish atmosphere to it that works for the subject matter. There's a charming collection of characters that all fit nicely into the vibrant adventure, and I think the directorial styling from Ritchie still holds up as feeling pretty unique. There's certainly an edginess to this movie, and Statham feels at home in the role, which translates nicely on screen, and when given the opportunity, he really does command the screen without swinging many punches or landing any spin kicks. He relies on his acting and his sense of humor, so when I'm looking for some Statham comedy, this is definitely a go-to film for that. Moving on to the next flick, at number 6, I have the Statham springboard actioner from 2002, that being The Transporter, directed by Louis Leterrier and Corey Yen. This is certainly the movie that put Jason Statham on the map in Hollywood as an action star, and despite it not aging too well, I still think it's fun for what it is. The fight sequences are extremely choreographed. It all kind of looks like dance fighting, but it was nicely framed on camera by Leterrier and Yen, so the sequences I think do have some visual merits to them. This was an enjoyable flick from its time, and I think the simple transporter element is an effective foundation for an action-packed movie that can pull you into the absurdity of it all with little to no brain power needed at all. Statham is in full action movie mode here. The chase sequences still hold up extremely well. There was a nice detail to the stunt work. They're nicely shot. They're awesome to watch on screen even after all these years, and I would say regardless of all the rhythmic styling to the fight sequences, they still do provide plenty of amusing moments of violence. The villains, they're a bit comical. They're kind of lacking any intimidation at all, and the romantic angle certainly delivers plenty of its own cheese as well, yet it's nothing compared to the later films in this series where things escalate to near slapstick levels. In this one, Statham is dodging axes, he's taking out a small army while covered in oil, and he's parachuting into a third act finale showing just charming levels of self-awareness. And to me, I would say this one was kind of like John Wick of the early 2000s. I think it brought more intricate fight styling to mainstream cinemas. Statham here certainly solidified himself as an action star. It just all sort of fizzled out with the increasingly ridiculous sequels. We're halfway through the list, and coming in at number 5, I have Safe from 2012, written and directed by Boaz Yakin, with Catherine Chan, James Hong, and Reggie Lee surrounding Jason Statham. This movie provides a simple and at times convenient plotline, but I think it works more than enough for delivering just enough of a story progression and characters to actually care about, while still being able to provide a surprising amount of nicely crafted fight sequences. Catherine Chan as this little girl with the gift of numbers is being pursued by pretty much every bad guy in the city. It's a serviceable setup for Jason Statham's down and out character to have to protect her. It's all a little bit contrived, but well structured and tightly paced. Plus, I think the chemistry between Statham and Chan has a modest amount of charm to it. It's just kind of, I would say, naturally heartwarming to see their friendship grow throughout all the splashes of violence in this runtime. This also really allows Statham to flex a little bit of his acting muscles as well, as he shows a surprising amount of sincerity in his softer side while protecting this little girl, which I do think was a nice contrast to his traditional violent alter persona that in this movie kicks on like a light switch to deliver plenty of delightful violence as he's just viciously taking out waves of bad guys. And to me, I would kind of say this movie feels like a 90s actioner with a modern vibe, and I just enjoy the atmosphere to it overall. You really don't have to think too much here, but you really can invest in the layering of the narrative still, and despite having a grounded tone overall, the adrenaline pumping action in this movie is very plentiful. Coming up next at number 4, I picked the 2008 British crime thriller The Bank Job from director Roger Donaldson, featuring an ensemble cast led by Saffron Burrows.
Fucking what are you trying to do to me, eh? I've got Jessel's money. The Problem is, he's tied up in these cars and you wankers want to trash the lot of them.
I think this is an undermentioned caper that provides plenty of character drama to complement an intricate yet nicely structured heist overall. It's continually evolving. I think it keeps the intrigue up while watching. There are a lot of different moving pieces here, but I think the script keeps it all organized, which does equal an engaging viewing experience, and Statham here carries the film well, and he does so with his acting chops instead of his action chops. I mean, okay, he does get a little ass kicking in here and there because, I mean, he is Jason Statham after all, but in this one, it's really his character's development that carries the movie's pacing along. I think if you want a well-rounded Statham performance, that this is a movie to pick. You can easily get wrapped up in the dramatic pacing of the heist and the interminglings of the characters. The planning of and the close calls during this mission result in a lot of fun moments of suspense that I think hold up nicely. The time period settings to me are an appealing escape to just another time and place. The wardrobes and the production design are crisp. It delivers plenty of subtle humor, effective emotional layering, and I think it blends it all with a lot of fun suspense in this heist itself to just deliver a complete film overall. And with that movie in the books, we've reached my top 3 Jason Statham movies. And coming in at number 3, I picked Killer Elite from 2011, directed by Gary McKendry, with Robert De Niro, Clive Owen, Ben Mendelsohn, and Dominic Purcell rounding out the cast. I think Statham, De Niro, and Owen are a great trio in this gritty actioner. There's plenty of story layering to invest in. Statham is forced into a deadly mission from individuals who are holding his mentor prisoner, and I think what really drives this movie forward is Clive Owen as the unassuming but intimidating villain. De Niro is fantastic as here, Statham is as well, but it all comes down to the bad guy. You know these guys are going to cross paths. You can assume Statham will leave the victor, but you know Clive Owen is going to make things extremely difficult, which does add to the fun while watching. I think Statham delivers some of his best action sequences in this movie. I think he really does put the effort in to make the stunt work look legit and just fast-paced and violent, and I think the fight choreography overall was perfectly tailored as well. It was very gritty, but with a more of a street fight styling to it. There was never any doubt, though, while watching these characters that they were extremely well trained, so I mean, for me, it kind of increased that feeling of animosity between the characters, which I think just naturally boosts the violence and delightful ways, as you know these guys hate each other. I also really liked how this movie just didn't simply rely on fight sequences and traditional gunplay either. There are a few larger, awesome set pieces worked into the story that do, I think, deliver plenty of enjoyment as Statham is jumping from buildings and routinely evading gunfire amid an explosion here or there, and this was a subtle movie. It's a bit forgotten, but I think it's a complete package for the genre. Coming up next at number 2, I picked the unassuming but enjoyable action romp written by Sylvester Stallone called Homefront from 2013, directed by Gary Fleder, with James Franco, Kate Bosworth, Winona Ryder, and Frank Grillo filling out the cast around Statham. Now I know I can already hear the clattering of the keyboards. I'm sure I'm going to get beat up a little bit for this pick being so high on the list. I know this movie doesn't really scream ambitious. I know I should have put all the Fast and Furious and Expendables movies at the top of the list, but I didn't. I enjoyed this one. It's the typical new man in a small town nonsense. Yes, it's all been done before, but I really enjoy Statham in this grounded role. He delivers plenty of ass kicking, but he cuts it with a sprinkle of dramatic layering to his single father character as well, which is able to kind of make something fun and unique out of admittedly all recycled parts. I would say the cast as a whole does add a bit of screen presence to make these cardboard characters work. I think Bosworth, Franco, and Ryder all bring life and personality to typical seedy backwoods meth head locals, and I mean, yeah, it is all bland on paper, but the performances I think do pull the material up to enjoyable levels to have a good time while watching. I think they all do create effective wild cards for this story, which I think sort of softens the predictability of it all. I think Statham does carry the film well. He He lands his share of punches. He provides his moments of charming bravado as well, and I think he adds a little bit of just charisma and personality to the usual just man forced back into violence to protect his family trope that we've seen so many times. I think the action is enjoyable, the gunplay and straightforward story layers are as well. So for me, this is a simple but effective actioner that I kind of like when I want to sit back to invest in something without the need of having to think too much. And with that movie in the books, that leaves us with my number one pick, and my selection for favorite Jason Statham movie is the 2011 remake The Mechanic, directed by Simon West, featuring a supporting cast headlined by Ben Foster, Donald Sutherland, and Tony Goldwyn. Yeah, I know, right? I'm a little surprised as well, but after watching about 20 to 25 Jason Statham movies, this was the one I enjoyed the most. It's a remake of the '72 Charles Bronson flick of the same name, and I think it delivers plenty of its own merits. Statham here is calm, cool, and calculated as a hitman that makes his crimes look like accidents. He's a lone killer. He focuses on the detail, and his life is all about the planning, so seeing him opening his life to mentor a young Ben Foster delivers plenty of action-packed entertainment along with an intriguing dose of dramatic undercurrent. Overall, I think this is an excellently crafted remake. I enjoyed the build-up that it delivers. I think the action is fun and intense. Statham gets to kick plenty of ass and do a lot of killing, and I think Ben Foster is a fantastic co-star to go alongside him. He also holds his own in the action scenes with a lot of effort put into the stunt work to leave some memorable scenes on his own. I also really enjoyed the setup for some of the contracts and just the creativity used and how he was going to take these guys out. I think it makes seeing the variety of kills from this master assassin a highly capable journey for anyone looking for a fun, fast-paced action flick. I definitely think Statham and Foster are great together. The growth in their friendship comes with heightened complications, of course. You know things will go south eventually, and the story gradually raises the tension nicely as it works towards that. Donald Sutherland effortlessly anchors the cast with his performance, and yeah, while it all may be familiar stuff in the genre, it's a highly competent hitman flick, one that uses the violence to get the blood going, then injects the character drama and the mental game of cat and mouse to kind of make it all mean something. And that's it, guys. Those are my top 10 Jason Statham movies. This guy still has many years of making films ahead of him. I can't wait to see what Wrath of Man delivers. I think it's been a while since Statham was just in a more simplistic, grounded actioner, and I certainly hope it delivers on the potential that it looks like it has from the trailer. Also, let me know what some of your favorite Statham flicks are down in the comments below. Be on the lookout for the new video coming soon, guys. Thanks for watching as always, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, drop it a thumbs up, leave a comment below. I'd love to talk movies with you guys. Share it with your friends, and without question, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can never miss a video. Here are some links to some recent reviews just in case you missed them. All my social media links and the link to our official website are down in the description below, and I'll catch you next time.